collecting horror movies for the past fucking 20 years.
Some guy with a meatball sub is going to sneak up and stab you in the neck.
I'll go with you if you buy me a slushie.
17? I can't even count to 17.
Hey everybody, I'm Jonathan Doe. I'm a podcaster, YouTuber, and filmmaker.
And my name is Steven. I'm a filmmaker, special effects guy, and a stuntman.
I like collecting oddities, exploring true crime cases, and directing extreme cinema.
If you like blood, gore, creatures, and more, then we've got what you're looking for. You're watching Scream Time. Jonathan Doe.
Steven Grischuk, how's it going?
It's going great.
What is this, episode 8?
Episode number 8.
Episode number 8, and we are talking about John Allen Schwartz' 1978 Faces of Death.
Embrace the Schwartz.
Diving a little bit deeper into the extreme underground, getting into the genre of shockumentaries, which is pretty cool.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Faces of Death spawned a gazillion different subgenres just off of this film by itself. So we're going to get into some of that today. So any of you guys who really are into lineages and stuff like that are going to eat this up.
What is your earliest memory of Faces of Death?
Very much like you had with Maniac. I remember seeing the cover. It says banned in 43 countries with the skull and everything. Mm-hmm. And then seeing the kind of ghoulish character that they put on all of the sequels as well was really cool. And as a kid, it made such an impression on my brain that just in my memory, I could draw the face from Faces of Death. I used to draw him over and over and make it look as creepy as I could and still draw up that same character. Yeah. So that's my earliest memory of Faces of Death. But I didn't see it until I was an adult.
Yeah, same. I've been collecting horror movies like pretty hardcore since I was about 15. And the first girlfriend I moved in with, I think we were 21, and she had moral issue with a lot of the stuff I had. I remember she got really upset because she thought films like Necromantic and stuff were very misogynistic, and she made a hard rule that if I ever bought Faces of Death and brought it into the house, she'd break up with me.
Wow.
And
that sucks. Necromantic's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, and I don't particularly define it as misogynistic either. It was just something that was banned from my house or whatever. And
banned in 43 countries and John's house.
But I was always a diehard fan, and I always liked really fucked up movies. I liked the fucked up stuff. I liked films like Cannibal Holocaust. I liked films like Solo. But I felt like I kept having to make these moral justifications of why I liked it. But after that relationship, I was okay, I can just fucking like whatever I want. And I just made a rule, I'm not going to fuck with people who, cast judgment on, the things that I'm into, you know?
Right.
From the lore that you hear about Faces of Death, it's oh, it's real death footage. But then you come to find out that it's not. And they did a really good job. It looks pretty realistic.
In my opinion, the effects are top-notch.
Yeah.
There's some things in there that are so convincing.
Faces of Death is almost a household name. I was working with a coworker, and the dad was oh yeah, when I was a kid, we had to go see this movie, Faces of Death.
Which is so strange because it does tackle pretty confrontational subject matter.
Yeah.
I mean, there are elements of real suicide footage and real death and stuff in there. So it is funny that it's had such a huge spanning life.
Dr. Gross, yes. Which is a great name.
Awesome name.
Yeah.
Great host.
He's basically showing different scenes centered around death and kind of taboo topics. And so there's scenes of executions, beheadings, and even taboo stuff like people eating a monkey and killing it and eating it while it's still alive, which is a faked scene. You can't really talk about Faces of Death before you kind of go into the films that kind of influenced it, which is the genre of Mondo films. Probably yes. One of the most popular Mondo films is Mondo Cane. And what a Mondo film is basically a documentary, kind of a pseudo-documentary that talks about sensationalized topics in a very exploitative way. What branched out of Mondo films is shockumentaries, which falls into Faces of Death. It has those elements in it. So it's these people going like, look at this primitive practice of these rich people and they're eating a monkey while it's still alive. So it's still sensationalizing these cultures that people thought were barbaric and all of that kind of stuff. The Mondo genre, which branches off into the shockumentary genre and has a lot of elements of that, which then branches into mixtapes, which we will also get into.
You hear that, Reddit? Get in on this.
Mondo Gore subreddit, what's up, guys? I know you fucking hate me.
I know you love him, yeah.
So John Shorts made Faces of Death, and he also branched off into a series. So we've got Faces of Death 2, and we've got the original worst of Faces of Death. There's also one called Faces of Death Fact or Fiction, which I don't have, and that was kind of like a making of thing.
Amazing cover arts, by the way.
Yeah, they're
Faces of Death has some of my favorite cover art ever.
Yeah.
Like, that ghoulish dude just looks so sick. He's honestly the stuff of cartoon nightmares.
I know. I want to get him tattooed on me somewhere. I just need to figure out a spot. Where these differ is that these actually do have more scenes of real death.
We'll cut to the chase, right?
Yeah. A lot of studios started grabbing like old Mondo films and things like that and rebranding them and marketing them as
repurposing all that old footage, incorporating it into a brand new project.
Exactly. And the Faces name got big, so we've got a Mondo film called Faces of War. This is not a complete thing. There's lots and lots and lots of these.
But still, buckle up. We could be here a while.
Then we've got Faces of Voodoo, and then we also have Faces of Torture. Faces of Torture has an incredible title, and it is so boring. So for those of you that are curious.
Oh my god, I wish you guys luck. Like, being a fan of Faces of Death, I know it became a huge video nasty. Being as big as Faces of Death was as a video nasty, people always herald the original Evil Dead as being like the Mac Daddy of all video nasties, simply because it had such a good turnaround for a profit. Because it seemed like every household in the world, especially here in America, had a copy of Evil Dead on VHS at one time. But Faces of Death also did extremely well, and it just spawned a gazillion sequels and blatant ripoffs after that.
It's just kind of like, it's an elusive, taboo fucking title that was like a dare for you and your friends to watch.
Yeah, it was one of those first real footage things where people went, I bet you can't handle this. All right, John, so fill us in on more of these ripoffs.
Faces of Death was like a huge success, and so Faces of Death got marketed in Japan as junk. My understanding is Faces of Death 1 and Faces of Death 2 is Junk 1 and Junk 2. And they stopped basically using the Faces of Death titles, and they started taking other Mondo / shockumentary films and just calling that Junk 3, Junk 4, Junk whatever. But they were all American shockumentaries that were making up the Junk series until it got to Junk 5. And Junk 5 was the very first Japanese-produced entry in the Junk series, right? But the filmmakers behind it, I believe it was the producer, he was like, I want to start my own series when it comes to these shockumentary films. He borrowed a lot of the footage from Junk 5, and he actually made the very first Death File film. Death File became its own version of Faces of Death. This hasn't ever been marketed or sold in the United States, so you can get original VHS copies if you're willing to throw down $100 a piece, or you can get boots. This is a boot, but it is all centered around real gore, and it's got a host, and it's in terms of its tone and in terms of its like presentation, it is the Japanese Faces of Death. They made 15 of these, but then there's other ones that made it in there that people count, so it gets into like 17 of them.
17? I can't even count to 17.
In Japan, you've got the Death Press series, you've got the Death Farm series.
Yeah, you were talking about how these were called junk
in
Japan, and that made me think of Shirasaki right away.
Yep.
Doing junk films and everything. So it's a clear homage to what that was.
Yeah, and so you've got Orozco the Embalmer.
Right.
He's a death photographer, so he has lots of like photo books that he does. But it's interesting to see, like, just from like the birth of the shockumentary stuff with Faces of Death, how much this fucking expands and blows up.
Yeah, it's crazy because you can be aware of like so many different films and have no idea, I guess, what Faces of Death was, because it spawned so many different things. Yeah. But if you like the mixtape thing, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but if you're liking mixtapes or shockumentaries or just disturbing documentaries in general, going back to Faces of Death is kind of a must if you're looking to complete your kind of horror history on this.
Yeah, for sure. I think it would be blasphemous, basically, to talk about Faces of Death and not talk about the legendary Traces of Death. So Faces of Death got really big, and they went, you know what? We're going to fucking do it better, and we're just going to do nothing but real gore, death footage, and stuff.
Wait, can you hear that? The cha-ching in the background. The fat, blatant ripoff. Yeah. That sold very well, and actually that box set sells for a pretty penny right now.
This is very much out of print, and you can see it's got the whole collection in there.
And it's signed by Darren Ramage.
Yes. It's got a host and stuff, but his character that he plays is Brain Damage, and it's very like 90s punk rock. He's got like spiky hair. He's got like a battle vest on. It's got a lot of real iconic real gore footage. This is kind of like a step up from Faces of Death. Everyone talks about Faces of Death, but it's like, well, have you seen Traces though? Mm-hmm. And this is where I do think you start seeing the kind of concept of what eventually would become the modern mixtape, where it's just like, we're gonna have some fucking metal playing and a compilation of different people getting killed and all this kind of stuff.
I know you had Darren Ramage on your podcast back in the day.
Shameless plug, Uneasy Train Explorers Club. I had him on. He's a cool dude. I like him.
Great show. And he mentioned a lot of really cool things on there. Yeah. Like, I know he likes to say that he put Meshuggah on the map. Yeah. Because he incorporated Meshuggah into Traces. Yeah. But whether he did or not, or Meshuggah did it, I mean, let's be real, Meshuggah's good, but
this is really fundamental in your education on learning about this kind of stuff. Good luck trying to find a copy, because this is like going for like $300+ on the market now.
And his is signed. Tough titty, said the kitty.
Collecting horror movies for the past fucking 20 years. Kind of continuing down this road of depravity.
Depravity lane.
Faces of Death, which is I would fall into the category of like being in bad taste. Turning that up a little bit is what is known as Faces of Gore. So you've got Faces of Gore 1, 2, 3, and then got it mixed up. 3, and then Best of Faces of Gore. They took a lot of the stuff out of Japan that they were making, so stuff like Death Farm, Death Press, things like that. Yeah. And then you've got another narrated doctor guy, but he's just making horrifically untasteful jokes. Like, literally just clowning on this death footage. It's just like the darkest, blackest humor ever. In poor taste kind of stuff.
You guys came to Cinema's Underbelly. You knew what you were in for when you clicked on this video. It was going to get nasty, and it was going to get nasty quick. Well, speaking of these kind of films, this is one that I was kind of familiar with. I haven't seen all of these. I've seen Faces of Death, but I've also seen this.
The producers that made Girls Gone Wild wanted to jump on real gore train.
Wait, do you hear that in the distance again? Cha-ching!
Yeah, so...
Yeah, cash grab.
Yep, and so they capitalized and made the Banned from TV trilogy. Everything that people want. You want tits and blood, tits and blood, tits and blood. I think it's okay. I mean, I do like this genre. I think it's interesting, but after a while you kind of get a little bit burnt out.
I get burnt out on this whole subgenre very quickly.
Going back into Brain Damage films, they released the Banned in America series. I actually like these. They're really interesting. They're brutal as fuck. Why I personally get fucking burnt out on this stuff is you're seeing recycled footage over and over and over and over again. But I would say the Banned in America series is pretty gut-wrenching, and I think that it's on par or in the same vein in terms of intensity as the Traces of Death films. We are still just scratching the surface of this genre. There's tons and tons of these, but
it's insane. And we're not even going to get into all the FUBAR, the MD Popes, like all that stuff just goes on for an eternity as well.
In kind of a last-ditch effort to capitalize on the Faces of Death series, made a series called Faces with a Z of Death 2000. These are fucking super stupid and terrible, and to be honest, I haven't even sat through all of them because I just thought they were dumb. There's a lot of like reenactments and stuff. And then from that came the popularity of the mixtape. A mixtape can be anything. A mixtape can be weird, edited clips of infomercials and stuff. But the ones that are getting really popular, that are popular right now, are the real gore mixtapes, and then the like fucked up porn mixtapes.
Or a mix of the two.
MD Pope stands for Most Disturbed Person on Planet Earth. The guy behind that is not a good person. He should be in jail.
Tell us how you really feel, John.
On the Disturbing Movies iceberg, when it goes down to the very bottom, that's all just a bunch of mixtapes. And a lot of people like to think that they're illegal, but the truth is it's basically just a bunch of footage that people downloaded off websites like bestgore.com. And those websites are not illegal. You can go on there. That's all on the surface web, and throw on some Marilyn Manson music as the background, and boom, you got a mixtape. And you can put a name on it like fucking Crushed Bodies 7, and everyone...
And they'll start looking for 1 through 6.
Yep, like the moral standpoint, I don't give a fuck. But from a creative, artistic standpoint, I find it to be very lazy. Mm-hmm. And there's a new one coming out every single fucking day.
You're like, wow, you just found all of the cartel execution videos and put them in one place?
Yeah, that we've all seen for 15 years.
Right.
So, not that there's not great mixtapes.
I know your buddy Marcus Cook made MK Ultra, and that got some steam. People really liked his mixtape. I wanted this episode to be kind of like an education, diving into all this stuff. I by no means am like an expert on it. It shows the impact and cinematic importance of Faces of Death and Mondo cinema in general. So the legacy that Faces of Death left behind will live on probably forever. And rumor even has it they're going to do a remake, like a Hollywood remake. And to me, that's just blasphemous. I really like Faces of Death. And honestly, after you watch Faces of Death, you go, wow, this is so not Hollywood. I don't understand how they're going to tackle this in the slightest. Mm-hmm.
If they do try to just do a like verbatim remake, I don't think it's going to have an impact. And you know how I feel about remakes.
Don't get them started.
They've heard. They're like, don't even fucking go. We've already seen this in like 4 episodes.
Don't use the R word around John.
Yeah.
I will be first in line to see Faces of Death, whatever silly remake thing that they do. I'm curious to see how they're going to tarnish Faces of Death's good name.
I'll go with you if you buy me a slushie.
I'll buy you a slushie. We're going. It's a date. Right. Well, John, looks like we have more thunder and lightning. You know what that means. It's time for Mr. Mac's 30-second film review.
Let's do it, bro.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mr. Mac's 30-second film review. The film we're talking about today is none other than Jim Van Beber's The Manson Family.
Start the clock!
For those of you who share some fascination with crime blended into horrific exploitation films, then we have just the movie for you. Van Beber's The Manson Family is a deranged, vile, and stunning achievement for independent cinema. Perfectly edited in such a manic way that only helps sell the insanity of the story being told, there is truly something special here. A huge Van Beber fan myself, I recommend watching his other work as well. The Manson Family is pure exploitation goodness through and through. And thank you for being an inspiration for this independent artist, Jim. This has been Mr. Mac's 30-second film review. Now let's get back to the show.
Thank you for your review, Mr. Mac. We appreciate you here on Screen Time. Okay. What is this? Oh, wow. Oh, my God. It just keeps coming and coming.
Well, I wonder what's at the end of the rainbow.
A pot of gold? A letter? Oh, my God. still going. We've done it. Reach the... No, say it ain't so. Oh my god, all this effort just to get to the mail today.
Yeah. It better be a good one, I guess.
Well, I hope you brought a sleeping bag. It's been here a while. Uh-oh. We've been here once before. Oh, yes. Exactly what we needed. Feels like something out of a Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner cartoon.
Yeah.
Another voice I can do, I suppose. Oh my god, look at it go. This is like so much paper.
Yeah.
Just for the record, people, we don't know what's going to come out of this window when we shoot. This is a surprise every episode.
Yeah. The environmentalists are mad at us for this.
Oh my god, it's still going. Wow. I am exhausted. Wow. Well, thank you.
Oh, now he's impatient.
Now he's pissed, okay. Man, he's getting an attitude back there.
I know.
Well, John, we finally got to the mail today. Let's see where it's from, shall we?
Let's do it.
Our mail today comes from my friend Ian, the drummer of punk band Butt Candy.
Sick.
So if you guys are a fan of stuff like Green Jello or the Radioactive Chicken Heads and theatrical bands like that, check out Butt Candy. Ian asks us today, if you had to choose between knowing how you were going to die or when you were going to die, what would you choose? Oh! Perfect! On the money is a thing of beauty.
You can go first.
Okay, I will. That's such a weird question. I feel like I would pick how I was going to die. Which would be really stressful. You ran into a similar situation. Like, say you learned you're going to die in a car crash. Every time you get in the car is going to give you a heart attack. You go, some guy with a meatball sub is going to sneak up and stab you in the neck. It's like, well, anybody who's eating a sandwich is like your enemy now. So you can't really sleep. I would be stressing out every day. But if you knew when you were going to die, I mean, on one hand, I guess it would be super motivating to get as many things done as before that date as you could. But I feel like especially the last few hours of your life or the last few days or weeks would just be like cripplingly depressing.
I could find out when I'm going to die, but then is it a self-fulfilling prophecy? Is it like do I die because I'm so convinced I'm going to fucking die that I do something like, well, I'm going to make my last fucking couple days count, and so I get reckless and I'm driving crazy and I'm partying or I'm doing whatever and I die because I OD'd or because I whatever, you know?
Sure.
I think I want to pass on both. I think I don't really need to know either one.
I know, it's a bummer of a question.
Yeah, I think, I guess I might have some curiosity about how. I guess if I had to pick between the two, it'd probably be how.
It's like your YouTube co-host executes you. We're sitting right here, you're like, well, we got 2 more episodes after this, so it's coming down to it.
I'm not scared of violence, I think I'd be fine with that. Have we talked on this show how you and I met each other?
Not on the show, no. Oh yeah, that's actually kind of a funny story.
Well, that's perfect.
About killing each other.
So this guy, this is like early in the days, like first couple releases of Putrid Productions, and I had made a photo book of like roadkill, and I made a trailer for it, and it's like me walking up to this like dead fucking raccoon, right? And he bought a DVD that had the trailer on it, and his stalking ass fucking watched it and sends me an email, and he's like, hey, is that this street? He's like, do you live by there?
Yeah.
And he's like, if you do, can I buy you a burrito? I don't know. I kind of wanted a burrito.
I love the story of how we met. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I recognized the street where a dead raccoon was being filmed.
Yeah.
Without including any street signs.
No.
It's just the asphalt.
Yeah, it's just me walking.
Dude, I recognized pavement.
Yeah.
With the dead critter on it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I think that's this street.
I would make a kick-ass detective.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
I was shocked.
I'm not even gonna lie. Like, if I watched my own footage, I'd be like, where was that again? And you fucking knew. Okay, sure. We're talking through email. I don't even. And this guy doesn't have a Facebook or anything, so it's not like I had a picture.
No, I'm invisible.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, well, let's meet at this one like restaurant. And so I get there on time, and he's fucking late. So I'm like, I email him, I'm like, hey, where are you, or whatever. And he's like, oh, I'm running late a little bit. And then all of a sudden, I'm like literally standing on the sidewalk out front of this restaurant, and he like pulls up and he goes, Jonathan Doe? And I'm like, hey. And I just get in the car. Like, I was just like, okay.
Like a total psychopath.
Yeah, I just got in the fucking car.
We are not homies at this point.
No,
We've sent like 3 emails back and forth, if that.
And then we go find parking, and then you were like, what if I was a fucking murderer? And I was like, then we'd both die, because I'd fucking kill us both. I'd be like, I'll grab the wheel, and we're going head on into traffic.
John made it very clear within the first 10 minutes of me meeting him that he has no problem taking my life. And lo and behold, it turned into an awesome friendship.
Yeah.
Which is so funny.
Burritos bring people together.
So, I would choose not to die by picking up a YouTuber off the street.
I think if we fucking fought in the car and went into oncoming traffic, that's a pretty good way out. I don't want to be like, oh, he had a heart attack in his sleep. I want to die like...
In a way that only Jonathan Doe could?
Yeah.
Are we saving your death for the season finale of Screen Time?
Just do a G.G. Allen like
Exactly what I was thinking. Go out just like G.G. always said he was going to.
I need to get some Merle Allen artwork. He makes art with his poop. He lives close by.
He lives very close.
Yeah. It's all about that SoCal life, dude.
Come down, guys. It's a party. All the skateboarders live here.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk, Pierre-Luc Gagnon.
Yeah. San Diego's where it's at.
It's the weather, man.
It's the skate spots. It's the weather.
It's the filmmakers.
Yeah. You've got Unearthed Films.
You got Unearthed Films here. Weird Al Yankovic lives down here.
That's your boy.
So
we're getting all over the place. So
we are. Okay, thank you for the question, Ian. Appreciate it. Any final remarks on Faces of Death?
I think if you are trying to dive into this world of the extreme real gore area, that's the umbrella I'll put in. The real gore area.
Yeah.
Mondo fits in there. Shockumentaries fit in there. Mixtapes fit in there. Even though I think that they are separate, but people tend to lump them together. Mm-hmm. You gotta start with Mondo Kane, Faces of Death, Traces of Death.
You gotta build the foundation from where it begins.
Yeah.
Once you see everything after that, it all really connects and makes sense. And if the real death thing isn't your thing, that's okay too.
Hey dude, let people just do what they want and you do what you want. The whole world is not going to become a horror fan. As much as I think sour belts are the best candy in the world, I'm not going to fucking convince everybody that that's the fucking thing.
It's a pretty good candy, though.
It is good.
Those are good.
Don't like Putrid Productions. # fuck Putrid Productions.
But # Boxcreep Films is always awesome.
Hail Boxcreep Films. Fuck Putrid Productions. Fuck Jonathan Doe. But thanks for hate watching me.
And enjoy Screen Time. Stick around for 2 more episodes. We're wrapping it up. We're coming to the tail end of all this here. But thank you all for hanging in there.
Yep. Let's go. We actually got ice cream today, too.
You got ice cream.
I got ice cream.
Rolled ice cream.
Yeah, if you've never had rolled ice cream before, it tastes pretty much like normal ice cream. All right, whatever. See you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, man. I'm all tangled up.